Hello, everybody. How are you? How are things in your world, guys? It's overcast here in Los Angeles, but it's breaking up. The sun is starting to come out as the sun rises. Now, it's starting to come out from behind the clouds as it rises. Now, this video is going to talk about who actually tips on rideshare services. Have you ever thought about that? If you're a driver, what is your experience? Leave us a comment below on who tips. I'm going to quote some stats from a recent study, and then I'm going to give you my own personal experience. And this is a study, if you want to look it up, in the Washington Post. The title of the article is Who Tips Best on Uber? And they summarize a recent research study that analyzed the rollout of in-app tipping that Uber introduced a few years ago. The results are almost 60% of Uber riders don't tip at all. The average amount is $3 of those that tip, and 1% always tip. Now that's me. I always tip. Anytime I take a rideshare service as a rider, I always tip. I always tip in cash. I always tip up front as soon as I get in the car, or when I remember. Come on, I'm a little older than you. All right, sometimes you don't remember things straight off the top of your head. And I'm halfway through the ride and I go, oh, my thing is to give them cash. And I put it right there in the tray, in the coffee cup, coffee holder. So what's my personal experience? So I've been doing, so that's one study. I'm sure there's others. And that is a tragedy, honestly, that 60% of Uber riders never tip. And, come on, riders out there. You're getting a premium ride across town in a probably a clean, modern car with great music. Probably there's often they offer accessories like gum and stuff. And you're not tipping? I'm going to call your mom. I'm calling your mom right now. Do you hear this? But the reason for that, let's be honest, is because when Uber, I think Uber's, actually, I don't know which one started, but when Uber started anyway, they started the process of not tipping. And the idea was that it was supposed to be seamless, that you didn't have to fumble for cash or whatever. You know what they should have done at that time, if that's the case, the seamless thing, they should have put in-app tipping in right away. And so what happened was people got used to not tipping, and so that number 60% is there for that reason. They got used to not having to tip. Or having to, you don't really have to tip, but nonetheless. So, okay, here's my personal experience. Now, I've been doing rideshare for more than 20 years, okay? And you say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? They haven't had rideshare for that long. Well, it was a form of rideshare before Uber and Lyft were in existence. The way that people got to the airport was they found the sucker in their circle of friends. And then like, oh man, you're the best. Listen, I'm going to go visit my cousin. She's having a kidney operation. I got to get to the airport. Can you drive me? And I'm like, all right, I'll drive you. Now, what happens when you're the sucker? The word gets around that you'll take them to the airport. Remember, they didn't have any other way to get there. No one wanted to pay $475 for a cab to go to the airport. So they call me. Well, what happens on that ride? I'm like, I hope your cousin gets their kidney operation. And they're like, what? Yeah, I hope it works out for you said your cousin's getting a new kidney. I hope it works out. They're like, oh, yeah, my cousin, yeah. Meanwhile, they've got a Hawaiian shirt on. They've got those Hawaiian lays, and they're putting on suntan lotion in my car. So the point is, I've been doing rideshare for a long time, and occasionally they would tip. Now I'm doing rideshare, full time with a proper rideshare service that has an app and everything. Here is my personal assessment over thousands of rides, honestly, thousands of rides. I cannot tell any difference between any socioeconomic group, demographic, psychographic, however you want to cut it. I do not see any difference between any group on who tips and who doesn't, nor how much they tip or how much they don't. So what do I mean? I can't tell any trend of rich or poor, north side, south side, east side, west side, young, old. I cannot tell any way whatsoever if somebody's going to tip or not, or how much. So the answer now, but let me do a side comment on this, because here's something I learned today. It's somewhat applicable, but maybe not. But the amount that people spend on Christmas gifts is the exact same or very close for rich, middle class, and poor. The amount of Christmas gift spent, whether you're rich, poor, or in between, is almost the same. So that, I don't know what that means. All I'm saying is that's just another, maybe I'm just saying that's another example of that the stats don't necessarily match what you might think. Because I'm in the forums, I read what people are saying on the Facebook and on the Reddit and on all the ride shares, and they're saying, oh, well, that's because the rich people tip. They tip more. And then other people are saying, well, over here, working class people know that you're, in what tips mean, and they are more likely to tip. I mean, look, I've driven both. I drove a lady of a certain amount of wealth, drove her from the airport to her house, okay? I in the driveway were a couple of her kids. I helped her bring the stuff into the I didn't go into the house, but up to I lifted like 15 bags, okay, making 7-8 trips, carrying 2 bags, like 15 bags up to the porch, onto the, through this, it's a big house. The kids are playing in the driveway. They could have carried maybe some of the lighter bags. They didn't do anything. Okay. She introduced me to the kids. It was all friendly. I'm Mr. Friendly out there. Okay. So I ended up long story short, I ended up raising the kids, paying for their college, okay, introducing them to people I know in industries, got them jobs, bought their first homes for them. Each kid separately bought a home while they were single, paid for their weddings. This is me, paying for their weddings, okay? Then they had kids. I paid for the hospital bills of the kids being born. So now we're talking about generational effort on my part. Those kids had to go to private school because they have to have a certain standard of living. I paid for the private school. All right. And now those kids are going to college. And they looked at me, and what did I do? I'm too nice. I paid for their college. So I've spent probably $1 million, $2 million on this particular rider, and guess how much they tipped? Goose egg. So that's what I mean. Zero, zilch, nada. And I kept looking in the app, like, oh, they're probably putting it in right now. They're probably going to give me at least $5. Nothing. And at the same time, I've driven working class people home from their factory job or from their warehouse job, okay? And not only did they tip, but they put me on their Christmas list and one person gave me a new car, okay? So, here it is. So, I don't see any trend either way. And that's my personal experience. What is your personal experience? This is what I want to know. What do you, if you're a driver, what do you see and get on the tips out there? What is your experience? That's what I want to know. All right, guys, Washington Post. If you want to read that, who tips best on Uber? This was from October 22nd of this year. This was published, and I didn't read the whole thing. But if you want to learn more, that's where you go, and then leave a comment with your wherever they are with your experience.